What's up, Scott? I figured it'd be easier just to record a video and put it on YouTube and shoot it over to you. Let me see here. I can't turn this thing around, so yeah, here's the sleds. I've got, you can see this one here. You know, basically, I've got my whatever angle, laminated all this stuff. And you can see this is the one that I use over here on the bandsaw, since it's taller. And theoretically, I guess I could show, you know, put the smaller stock on it. But this was I've got a couple of different angle sleds that I've put together. This one's a little bit shallower or smaller of an angle, which actually works out better for me. It's pretty much what a Gibson would end up being. But again, you could see I picked these up at Rockler. These things are great. You know, you end up drilling a hole, drop this puppy in. I mean, you could use it on your fence, on the bigger ones, and they're like $9 a pair, you know, for these things. So they're the ticket. But you can see, I mean, I jammed out a bunch of these, and doesn't look like much, but again, you know, I've got all that raw wood, and I've got other in there, and you know, I have my measurements for everything, and I just pick one and start churning them out. You know, this gets milled down. This is a 5/8, I think, is what it ended up being. And once I get it milled to where I want it, you know, stick the block on here, run it through the bandsaw, and then I've got another sled. It's a cross-cut sled, and you know, I measure the exact distance that I want for here, you know, because again, all my headstock templates, you know, that I've churned out, were also, I could use the exact same size of stock to do this stuff with. And that's the thing too, is, you know, try not to be so different on things. If you're wanting to try to make a little bit of money on these, is try not to be so entirely different that you can't repeat a lot of these things. I mean, you know, because every now and then it's fine, you know, go ahead and just do something that's just totally outrageous and different, you know. But for the most part, you're going to want to be able to do things repeatedly and easier. Like this, for instance, this doesn't look like much, or that it would be hard. But man, this little angle here and getting in here, it's, you know, it's a nightmare to get into this thing. I can't focus on it. So, I mean, all these little things, I mean, just those nicks there, unless I were to go back and sand all of this out, I mean, this basically just ruins this piece. I wouldn't use it, right? So anyway, but you can see, you know, again, even making templates. I mean, I've got a size of this MDF that I use to make these templates. So it's an exact size, but it just so happens a lot of the things I do that I use these for, you know, this tends to be the right piece of stock. So, you know, I cut up a crap load of them, and whenever I want to design a new headstock or make a part that's for anything up around the neck, I just come grab that piece and start at it. Same thing, you know, these are the heels. Cut a bunch of those. These pieces here, and again, with that sanding box, you know, once I had those things laid out, you know, it's just flawless. I mean, you know, they'll obviously be squeeze out like anything else, but you'll be able to look down the side of these things. Let's see if I can do it here. And I think on the website I actually even put that here, but you can't see anything up in there. I mean, it's dead on, right? So once you start carving this puppy, you're not going to have that, you know, the blotchiness. You have a little bit, right? I mean, it's just the way this glue is, unfortunately, but still, with it being that tight, you know, there's a lot of builders that when you look at them, I mean, it's nice to have something that really does look like a root style instrument. But, you know, if you're like me and you're planning on building, you know, full-size guitars as well, I mean, you know, once you start looking at these little things and people play it, and then, you know, they see the workmanship and all that goes into it, you know, that's where you know, differentiate yourself from other people. Let's see what else I have here. You know, again, I still haven't even finished this one. This was when I was doing a banjo headstock. So, you know, it's got the straight pegs, but I've just have not gotten around to putting a thing together. You know, it's like everything else. So, but like I said earlier, I've got enough stuff laid out here where it's 20 something necks worth there. You know, I couldn't even tell you how many I have. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Let's see, so there's 12 there. And of course, the ones on the end, I need to go ahead and put the fretboards on. And I've got 3 more in the other room. So everything is there, right? Other templates, you know, that pain in the butt where you cut to put your neck on, and how it's almost like it's different every time, and you never can get this one little, you know, portion of the box in there right. Well, what I ended up doing, again, you see what that template is. That template's for 2 different box sizes. All of them are Fuente boxes for this template. But you could see that once I clamp this in, I'm able to go ahead and run my router through there. And basically all I have is a little bit of cleanup right there on the corners, right? And I've got a spacer that fits here on the sides, and run that through there. And forget where the clamp goes anyway, but it's clamped in there, right? Takes 10 seconds and you're done with that, other than just a little thin curved blade just to clean up that corner. You know, it takes you how long when you do it by hand and have to use a thin blade. It's a nightmare because at times you can screw it up or mess it up. I mean, I've been there and will continue to botch those things up. But this top here, actually, this is a template that I've got for this particular one, right? The layout for the pickup, the whole layout. Same thing with this one. I've got a template that has this whole layout for this box, or for the smaller, stubbier box. The same template is perfect for that. It's also grooved. This one is set up for a clear piezo bridge that I build that'll go onto there. So that's and you can see, right? I mean, I've got gobs of those I've got to assemble. I mean, I've got, you name it, each one of these is 2 once I get it cut and milled and all that sort of stuff. I think I showed you a picture of this. This is what those look like, right? And you won't find these anywhere. This is I'm proud of this actually. But as you can see, once this goes on there, you can see through it, right? And you won't find these on other stuff. And that's what you know, another thing to do is find, although flattery is, copying is some form of flattery, they say, you know, this is not copied from anybody, and hopefully nobody will, you know, steals my design and claims it is theirs. But, you know, it's what happens, right? You'll see something and say, I could do something like that, or I could do better. That's how I got in this in the first place. But I did all the measurements for this bridge, and it's a compensated bridge. I mean, it's just about dead nuts on as far as the intonation goes with this, right? And it gives you got a little bit of play here, the back and forth. And I could probably tighten that up a little bit as I play around a bit more. But I spent a lot of time just getting the measurements the way I wanted them and how it sounded, you know, where the intonation was right on these. And before I made a template to start doing these things, these were hours to do a couple of these, because, you know, I cut these things. So you can't see, well, you can see the back of that. I cut a very thin piece off of this, so it's at a depth that, you know, that I need, that I know works as far as string height, all that stuff. And then I get a piezo pickup in there And of course, like I said, you have to polish all that. When you run a router on the edges to get these edges, you have to polish every bit of that. And there's no easy way of doing that. So those could, hopefully I'm going to get it down to where these things maybe take 15, 20 minutes a piece, probably. If I can get them down to 30 minutes a piece, that would be great. But again, all these angles to where I could drop the piece in here. I can get my right cuts for the bridge to go in. I've spent a lot of time just for this stupid little thing right here. But, try to cut these slots by hand, freehand, or just dropping a piece of wood down and hoping you get the groove right. It's a nightmare. And, I've messed up a lot of these things. And even messed up a bunch till I got this right. I mean, you could see where I've shimmed it to make sure I have everything exactly how I want it. So next thing that'll happen with this is I'll make another one that's going to be cleaned up a lot more. But, depth gauge, I mean, just those little things where you can knock these out and do a bunch of them at once, right? That way at least you get to a point where you've got a box or you have all your parts there, and then it's just a matter of coming up with ideas at that point and going, pick up whatever pieces you want and put them together. It makes it a heck of a lot nicer or easier. I think I may have told you this was the very first one I started on years ago, and I still haven't finished. This is my personal one, so I've not gotten to that, but this will be the 4-string one. But you can see I've pickup rings that made out of brass and cut those. But I've also made a template now because I'm going to have the guy start winding. Although this is a 3-string, I've got 4 stringers that the guy wound for me. They're P90 styles. One of the things too, I think I'd mentioned, where we've all been there and botched up this section. Well, pieces of wood, right? Cover up for that. So I made lots of them. To where basically you just glue it, and I'll go back through and adjust this a little bit more to where it's got a different edge. I'll probably go ahead and cut an OG on this edge. But the one thing, you get too fancy, spinning blades, sharp spinning blades, is a risk reward. And although I like nice and like to figure out ways of getting rid of even the tiniest of gaps in there, I want to keep my finger kind of thing. So you have to sort of weigh out, is it worth doing certain things because of all these power tools? I mean, you know what the drill is. You lop a finger off in a heartbeat. Now, as far as the insides of these, I think that was one thing with the cheaper pickups or less expensive pickups. Shield everything. Get some of that copper tape and put shielding here. I've never used the paint. I know a lot of people that do, and it may work. I don't know. I just get the copper tape and I put that in there. You could see where I've drilled through here. This is actually, and you see the hole comes through here. This is for a ground wire. This will have a hardtail bridge on this one. So grounds, anything and everything you could do to keep the noise down is where you're going to separate, again, your builds from other people's builds. Because I think I said it to you before or in an email that, somebody says, yeah, your guitar sounds like a cigar box. It's generally a true insult. Whereas, my hope is somebody says, yeah, that sounds like one of Budner's cigar boxes. And at that point, that's, hopefully it'll be a compliment at that point. But let's see, what else have I got here that may be of interest to you? Again, these tables, if you ever get around to it, make some of these, the flip top tables. I mean, you could see, where I've got 2 tools on each one of these things, plenty of room, so once I get a couple more things moved out of here, I mean, I'll be able to line up everything I have just on this end. And then I'll have the other end for assembly, and it's pretty much the way I do it now. But even just this little bit of room and being able just to move a tool around, and this, it's a chintzy dust collector, but my dad gave it to me, and things brand new. And just having that, even, you knock your cleanup time down from 30, 40 minutes down to 10 minutes, it's not that big a deal, right? I mean, that's, you know, it's not as bad when you know you only have 10 minutes to throw it cleaning stuff up. Let's see. Limba. I didn't show you this one. I know there was some stuff that you had, but this is a black Limba here. And so you could see it's got some really pretty figuring on it. Let me get this out. And let me see here. I need to run back and pick up some rock maple. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make some almost like a fender, you know, with a just a maple fretboard as well. So I need to run back and get some rock maple to do that. This would be an absolute nightmare if I were to try to use this flame maple on it. That wouldn't last at all. But here's more of that zebra wood. And it's got a couple of good spots. They had some really nice stuff down there last week when I was there. But I've got to get some more shelving mounted over here to where I can get this stuff just moved up off the floor because it takes up so much room. And then I'll go back to, you know, stockpiling, you know, as much of this good stuff as I could find. I mean, they actually had a really, really nice chunk that was a 2-inch thick by, I think it was 12-inch wide and 8 foot tall, and only wanted $200 for that piece of wood. And I mean, it was absolutely stunning. Wood is, you know, I've got one other piece that's like it. That's actually a little bit better, and I really should have bought that thing. And to be honest with you, I may go back tomorrow, and if it's still there, I'll pick it up. But let's see here. Yeah, I think I showed you this. This is, you know, LMI templates and the StewMac blade, and then another sled, and just a regular crosscut sled. You know, a couple more. I didn't like the angle on this one, so I went, you know, after I put this one together, and it's probably okay if you're joining, just regular joining wood for some other reason, but this particular sled is, I'll probably just end up burning it because it's just doing nothing but taking up wood. I don't intend on using it. And, you know, if you're going to make one sled, you may as well make a bunch of them and, you know, at least get the things laid out and, you know, on the rails, and then you could figure out what you want to do with them later, right? I mean, everything is, if you can do one, do a couple of them, 2 or 3, right? Let's see. And then you saw my little sanding box. This thing's a ticket, man. And I actually have another one. When I cut this, I cut enough to build 2 of them. So I may go back and, since this is the original that I've got drilled all the pieces and parts and, you know, all over the place, it was my prototype, I may go ahead and get the other one and assemble it. You know, just right now, does exactly what I need it to do. And, you know, that's what I want. And let me see, anything else here, anything else? You know, more tools. I mean, that's, you know, it's expensive, but, you know, having nice level wood, the ability to be able to take this raw wood and do what you want to with it, as far as milling it down and the correct dimensions and making sure everything's plumb and flat and square. You know, again, that's, I can't tell you how many other builders and good builders that, you know, you can look at their stuff and their necks aren't flat. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that isn't right. And the good thing is, you know, especially like with that joiner, for instance, you know, once I put these necks together, let's see here, I'll just grab one. So everything is level across through there. But even before I put the fretboard on, the first thing I'm doing is coming through here and running it across the joiner one more time. And even a good hand planer, right? If as long as you know everything here is flat, and, you know, go back one last time with a good hand planer, make sure every bit of this is flat before you put the fretboard on, and then even make sure the fretboard's flat from, you know, when you cut the thing and slotted it to you know, when you're getting ready to install it, I mean, it's, you know, it's like checking the setups on your saws. You know, I won't roll a saw out without checking to make sure, you know, that there's no drift, or that I've gotten all that straightened out on the bandsaw. I always check on that for, you know, 90 off the deck, because that's, you know, once you start chewing through wood, I mean, you know, you'll cut a wrong angle on it, and if it's just a little off, you know, I mean, you're going to see a gap. I will, kind of thing. So, you know, always, doesn't matter what you do, if it's got a saw blade that goes on it or some sort of cutting mechanism on it, you know, always, before you use it, you know, make sure the thing is plumb. I mean, because again, you know, you know how much this wood costs, and you know how much effort you put into it, so may as well do it right to start with. I mean, it only takes a couple extra minutes. I know it used to kill me when my dad always said that. It just drove me up a wall, but you know, I'll be honest with you, it just he was totally right. So let me see here, what else do I have here? I don't know if you can get one of these. This was life changer here. That made it to where I can buy those big pieces of wood, thick pieces of wood, and resaw them, right? So I can get fretboards out of it. I could use every piece of it. I don't have to sit there and run it through a planer and chop off 1/8 of an inch worth of wood, or, you know, a 1/2 inch of wood that I could really use for fretboards even, you know, and or I'm not limited to having to, you know, look for somebody online and pay him an arm and an elbow for one little piece of wood, where, you know, I could probably get half of a board or 6 feet of that wood and get, you know, 8 or 10 pieces of what I need out of it. So, you know, but the investment is, you know, it's one of those things you dump a ton of money in, and it's a hard thing to, you know, unless you just like woodworking and stuff like that and have all sorts of disposable income. You know, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't do, or they use smaller tools that are, you know, have a lot of slop and a lot of play in them, things of that nature. So, you know, a lot of outlay there. But again, you know, you can see here's more fretboards that I've cut when I had everything set up. Do a lot of them, right? Get all your blanks cut up. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna put this on Facebook. Hopefully, you know, hearing me sort of describe some of this stuff, it'll make a little more sense to you as well. And you know, who knows? One of these days, maybe I'll have you come on over just to check out my setup or something like that. Or, you know, I'll even, maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll see if I can get Bossman to maybe carry one of the guitars up and let you see it. I'll have him carry it into school and then bring it back out to me, because it's definitely one of those things. I don't want anybody stealing or damaging any of the things I'm building, and, you know, mainly because it's, you know, a lot of them are going to charities, but, you know, it's, kids will do stuff like that, I guess. I mean, so anyway, take it easy, man.